Morning. What's up? Good people. Good people of planet Earth. Good morning. And hey, it's one day, Sunday. It's the 14th, right? Sunday, the 14th. One day away from the release of the PT-15. So AMP comes out tomorrow, and it'll be available everywhere. And I think John Sir's actually going to pop in for a bit because I was just talking to him on the phone on the way here, and he's gonna hang. So he should be here any minute. And he'll be in the chat and all that good stuff. So, is Guitar Church about to begin? Says Chris. Yes, I hope so. We'll try and make it that. Braxall, he's in early with a good question. He says, if you were to put your HX Stomp on your board, how would you wire it in for optimum use? Would you put it last in your chain to the return of the amps? Well, so to me, the cool thing about the HX Stomp is, of course, that it is an amp modeler as well as an effect unit, and it'll host IRs and all that. So you want to put it in a place, I think, optimally on the board where you could use it as both just for effects, and then if you want to use your board and have that be the amp, you could do that. So think about that, like maybe like things that come after it. You might want to put some post stuff after it. Like, a reverb or something. Ideally, I mean, you could do reverb in that too, but if you've got a reverb pedal you really love or something, maybe put that after. Or if maybe you got a, I don't know, stereo rotary thing or something that you might want to put after it. But other than that, yeah, really close to the end of the chain, I would say. Now on my board, I have my board configured so that there's kind of a patch bay on the side. And I have to think about this because I haven't had enough coffee. But basically, the output of my switcher, my Musicom Lab switcher with all my pedals and stuff, not the delays and reverbs, but the overdrives and compressors and stuff like that. That's all in the loops of the switcher in Musicom. And then the output of the switcher shows up on the side of the Friedman patch panel. So I can take a line out of there, run that out to the front of the amp. Then I take my effects send back to my board and I patch it in on the patch panel. And I can go into my post path, go through what is now a DD500, as well as a couple of just gotta stop something here. Sorry. A couple of H9s, and then I take the stereo out to the H9s, and those go back to the amps, to the returns, right? But what the neat thing about that setup is that if, say, I wanted to say I replaced the DD500, which is in the post path, with an HX Stomp, which is kind of what I'm thinking about doing. Then what I could do is take the send out of the switcher on the side on the patch panel, just patch a little cable over to the input of the first thing in the post path, and now I'd just be running through everything all in one big chain with all the stuff, the switcher coming first and then the post path coming after that. And I could come stereo out of the last thing, which would be an H9, and just go to DIs or something and go direct. So that's the thing, So just, in other words, that's a hell of a long answer, but basically I would just put it towards the end of your chain, and maybe with the only thing coming after it being whatever you would normally put kind of post amp, maybe a reverb or something. When are you coming to Mexico? I'd love to go there. I haven't been for a long time to Mexico. I'm only like 3 hours from there now. I was almost in Mexico the other day. I did a Sir clinic. I guess I've seen you guys since then, but that was down in San Diego at Pitbull, and that's only like, I think it's like 4 miles from the border or something. Not quite there, but have you ever played a Strandberg? That's from Angus. Yeah, I did try one, and I kind of just couldn't really get with the neck thing. There's a couple things about it. Number one, I'm a big believer in the headstock being a big part of the tone. Of a guitar. So for me, the headless thing and the shape of the neck is super weird. I tried it and I thought you see them in Japan in stores quite a bit. They're all over the place there. So I picked one up and I experimented, but I just kind of get with that with the neck. They seem to really be popular with younger players that just don't have any preconceived notions about what a guitar is supposed to be. Things like things that that maybe if you grew up with Les Pauls and stuff like that, the kinds of things that are important, you know, the things we obsess over, long tenon, stuff like that. The young guitar players, they don't even know what a tenon is, and many times they don't give a shit, and they just kind of want to, they're like, oh, look, that's different, that's cool, and the neck, like if you're young and getting used to guitar is weird anyway. It's a weird thing to learn how to do, and we forget that sometimes. I think if you've played it for 30 years or something, but if you were just getting started and you were 3, 4, 5 years in, you saw this cool thing. You're kind of like when Steinbergers came out. I remember when Steinbergers came out, I was like, that's cool, because it was weird and different, and I was young, and I don't know, but probably if you'd played guitar for 30 years, you might look at one and go like, that's weird. Like, that's not a Les Paul or a Telly. And it would be strange. That said, when I think back about Johnny Winter playing those laser guitars, anybody remember that? Johnny Winter playing those? They were like made by Hondo or something. I think he endorsed them for a while. It was so weird because he's a Firebird guy, and all of a sudden he's got this little baby guitar that's headless. So strange. But anyways, who else we got here? We got Lawrence here in the house, and let's talk about the Queen gig thing. He says, yeah, so I went and did another. It was a crazy day, man. We had so much music to get through to rehearse because there was a whole bunch of songs I hadn't played with them yet, and it was a full show. So we did the entire thing, which was 2 sets worth of music outside at rehearsal, and it was kind of a rainy day, so it was like rain on and off, and then sun. It'd be hot as hell, and then rain. And I worked pretty much from like, I think I went there at noon or 12:30 or something, and I didn't stop until after the show was over at like 10:30 that night. I just was going the entire time. And the gig almost didn't happen, I feel like, because a big thunderstorm rolled in literally at 8:00 when we were supposed to start, and they cleared the entire venue out and sent everybody back to their cars because they were worried about lightning. That's making a shadow. I'm going to see if I can fix it by turning this light a little bit. Let's see. Let's turn up the. Let me see. I'm still working on the lights in here with my new panels. It's not really, almost. Anyways, but it ended up happening. Everybody came back in the venue, filed back in, and the gig went on about a half an hour late. We cut 4 songs from the set or something like that, I think. And the guitar solo, I didn't get to do the Brian May guitar solo, unfortunately. But it was a really fun show overall. And man, that guy, Mark Martel, he's amazing. He sure can sing. Yeah. Well, somebody's on who's on a Carnival cruise right now? Mr. Tavares is on a Carnival cruise watching Pete with my espresso. Best time of my cruise. That's awesome, man. Are you sitting in your like outside and chilling? You got good Wi-Fi on those boats? I wonder. That sounds nice, man. Enjoy. I wish I was on a cruise ship. Ben's got a jet for a little while. Evidently, Ben's here. Thanks for being here. PT 15 roll call, says Chris Cam. Who's picking one up? So yeah, they're out tomorrow. There it is. And I saw somebody's already got them, and like I think a couple in Europe. Some dealer sold them, I think, a little early. They were supposed to be next week, but somebody shipped them, and people got them already. So there's a couple folks that have been posting on Gear Page and stuff, and it's all really, really positive stuff. So I'm stoked about that. Cameron Hayes says, could I please explain the importance of sample and bit rate when recording, especially when recording from home remotely to send off somewhere abroad? Well, if you're doing a session for somebody and you're tracking at home, you probably want to conform to whatever the sample rate their session is. So you should always ask the client, what they want you to record at. Generally speaking, when I record in my studio, it's all 24/48. I've just done that for years and years and years. Basically, without getting into a long detailed description, as bit rates went up, sound quality got better. So 16-bit went to 20-bit, went to 24-bit, and that's kind of where it stayed for ever since the, I don't know, early 2000s or something like that. Sample rate is open to debate. 44.1 is, of course, the CD standard. 48K is kind of the 2448K became what sort of everybody recorded at for a long time, it seemed like. And it, truth be told, it sounds great, and that's why I still record at that. As the sample rates go higher, it's like you're getting more information recorded. So 24, 48, 88, 2, or 96K are kind of the standard. You can even go as high as 192K. Basically, what that is like all the little, as I understand it, all the little divisions between because when you're recording digitally, it's like little chunks of audio, right? And it's so the more of those, the closer it is to being a completely seamless thing, right? So you would think, well, okay, well, definitely that means that higher sample rates are better. And yes, that's probably true, but there becomes a point where it's like maybe it's beyond human hearing or comprehension or whether or not it's just the point of because what ends up happening is it taxes your computer a little more to record at the higher sample rates and use more hard drive space, like a lot more, because you're recording more information actually. So the best thing to do is maybe experiment with it and see if you can hear it, especially for like rock and roll. I don't know that it matters that much. Music with a really huge dynamic range, like classical, if you're recording an orchestra or something, those are the people that tend to think 2496 is real beneficial, but other people say the bottom end sounds different as you go up to the higher sample rates. I think I hear something when I go to the higher sample rates. I just don't know if it's like super beneficial for whatever I do. So anyways, I just sort of, it's one of those things that I tended to just sort of forget about. Like I go, well, I'll just record 2448 because that seems like lots of pro records are made that way. And, it's worked for me ever since. And it's just kind of a standard that I've stuck to. Servando is up in the top chat. Thanks for doing the top chat. Good sir. He says, hey, Pete, I got a Bogner Cube and I find the V30 harsh and weird in the mids. Do you have a speaker recommendation? I have an H75 Creamback. We'll try that. H75 Creamback's a great all-around speaker. I've never tried it in a Bogner Cube. I have a Bogner Cube that has a greenback style speaker in it. It's a really nice little cabinet. It's the cabinet I recorded my Guitar Nerd record with. So I did tons of stuff with that little cabinet. It has a scumbag speaker in it that's like a greenback. But yeah, try that H75. That should be maybe a little more balanced without that upper mid spike. It'll be still bright, but it's a different kind of sound. And I think that's actually would probably be my number 2 choice for an all-round speaker. That's why we used it in the PT 100 212 cabinet, the H75 Creamback, because it sounds good all the way from clean to dirty. It does a lot of things really well. Cameron, that was the same question I just answered. Sorry about that. Sorry if I missed anybody. I wonder if Sir's here yet. Anybody know? Oh, yeah, there he is. Sir's here. Sean Tubbs is here. We got some talented folks in the house. Nice to have you guys here. Thanks for stopping in. And you guys can ask John anything you want. Just pepper him with questions. That's what I would do. And Lauren says, have you ever had a super beautiful guitar that played poorly? Yeah. I've got actually some stuff right now that's really great that I don't play that much. There's one guitar I have, I won't mention which one, but I got to get it fixed because the nut is just weird on it, I find, and it makes tuning it really hard. So, but it's yet everything else is amazing on it. So, things like that happen. Generally, you can nail down what it is about it that is not great. If it's a quality instrument, but there's just one thing that's driving you crazy, it's worth putting in the time to try and fix whatever that one thing is. Just beauty. I guess some guitars look really nice, but they're tone turds or just don't play good, but then probably at that point I wouldn't have gotten it, if it was a guitar that I was interested in. So yeah, John and Sean are here. That's great. I wish you guys could join me on the video. That'd be cool. Definitely. Servato says, I was also wondering if you prefer dual V30s in an oversized 212 or a Creamback 75 with a V30 mix. I ordered a Stone Age 212 with V30s, but I might swap a V30 out. Overall, I'm not really a V30 guy. I mean, I use them sometimes, but it's just not really my thing. That's why, Creamback 75s is what we actually did in the oversized. It's sort of oversized 212. It's really a normal size 212. That's just kind of deep. The PT cab, the original one. So we went with the creambacks on that. V30s, they're not. I don't hate them, and I don't mind using them sometimes. I'm actually, when I play through them, I go, and I just kind of turn the tone controls to make it work, and it's not the worst thing in the world to me. But it's just not my favorite speaker. All right, somebody's up in the top chat. 666 cents. It's Tom, the number of the beast. Tom says, John, Sir, Pete Thorn, when can I get a locking Wilkinson like on the PT? John could maybe answer that. I know that they had a limited amount of bridges and they were selling some through the Sir website, actually. So John might have an answer about that. I know that they want to allot enough for my guitars, but that when they've had an excess kind of amount of them or something, they have sold some through their website. So Sir would be the ones to ask about that. And Papa Sir is here in the house. Let's see here. SD Design says, thanks for turning me on to the Rick Beato channel. That man is way cool. He is so much great content, and I love his videos. He does great stuff, and he's a fun dude. Wealth of knowledge. Rob says, I'm an audio DSP engineer. Oh, that's cool. Develop the hardware and software that Pete's describing. Without typing too much, I'll just say Pete is spot on. Oh, thanks. That was my layman's description of 20, of sample rate and bit depth. But thank you. If you can offer anything else, Rob, that you think, just sort of the long story short of it is, I think you should ask the client what they want you to record at if it's for somebody else, and then beyond that, 2448 works for me. Show your sport with a thumbs up, says Ben. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate you mentioning that. And let's see. I'm gonna kind of go down to the bottom here and see if you guys are talking about anything with John or or Sean. Sean, I need lessons. Can I have some lessons from you? John says about the bridge. Can order from us or Wilkinson the locking bridge as well as just the locking saddles that fit the 510. I did see, come to think of it, on Reverb that the bridge is on reverb.com. So the whole thing is on Reverb, and you can order it there, I think. So go to reverb.com and just search Wilkinson, and I think it'll pop up if you search for it. Yeah. And Lauren is asking John why solid state amps suck when boutique builders can build such great pedals that sound like they're tube amps. Well, John might have some opinions about that. He's been thinking about that recently as well, is all I'll say, and then I'll let him comment as much as he wants. But I think he was telling me recently he has a theory on why solid state traditionally hasn't sounded as good as tubes. And then it's not really that big of a deal, maybe. Kind of interesting. Somebody else is up there in the top chat. Modern Vintage. Thanks for doing the top chat, sir. He says he has a new Sir he loves, but it has sharp fingerboard edges. Who is the best luthier in LA to round and smooth the edges like my Friedman guitar? You might want to ask John that, whether or not that's something maybe they could address, or whether it's something you've got to go to. I really like Renson guitar in Studio City. He's been around forever, Norik Renson. So I Renson. You might look him up. He's a really good guy and experienced. Another guy I like quite a bit is Lush Guitars, and he's at Third Encore in the Valley. It's Eric at Lush Guitar. If you just look up Third Encore, and he works out of the Tour Supply office at Third Encore, which Tour Supply is like a store that sells all kinds of cool tour supply stuff, like strings and cables and batteries and road cases and stuff. So he could be another one you could look into, but maybe ask John since he's here what he thinks. Would love to see John and Kevin talk about their designs. It'd be fascinating, says Leon. Leon's in the top chat. Thanks, Leon. He's in the UK, or no, he's somewhere in Europe. Definitely. No, I should mention I'm doing a Facebook Live tomorrow from the factory, and who knows, maybe John will have time to pop in on that for a minute. But I'm doing a Facebook live stream for the release of the amp, so I'll be there. It's 4 p.m. tomorrow, 4 p.m. Monday Pacific Standard Time, and maybe I can. if Kevin's around, if John's around, maybe they can swing in for a second. Just kind of an informal thing. I'm going to be out there doing stuff tomorrow, and we decided to do this Facebook Live for the release of the amp. So should be fun. Should be fun. Should be fun. Yeah. Lawrence said he's not a fan of V30s either. They work with Mesa stuff, but Marshall doesn't sound good with them. Yeah, unless it's Slash, who probably recorded every single song of his career through a V30. I mean, some other people, like Steve Stevens, use them for a long time. With high gain, kind of more modern Marshall stuff, they sound good to me. For Plexi, I don't like V30s with older Marshalls. I just don't. I like greenbacks because a little raw Plexi thing, the way a greenback, first of all, a little less efficient. So, even the Heritage greenback, which I'm not really as big of a fan as that speaker as I am as the regular Chinese one. But the neat thing about the Heritage greenback is that 96 dB kind of lower efficiency, a 412 sounds markedly less loud than some say of H30 loaded or V30 loaded cabinet or something. Like it's a couple 3 dB less efficiency. It's like a 96 as opposed to 99. So it's kind of amazing. Like it's like, oh wow, that's like more pleasant to listen to because it's not so damn tearing your head off, with a cranked up 50 or 100 watt Marshall style amp. And plus they just have this kind of high end roll off that it does a really nice thing for that style of amp. SD Design's in the top chat and he says, coffee on me. Thank you, man. I got my first troll comment on YouTube last night. Any advice on dealing with hurtful comments? The number one thing to remember is that haters always hate up. That's a nice T quote. So if somebody's saying something mean, it's because they're jealous or because they're, what does this guy know that I don't know? Or they're just, they're hurting inside. Like, to put out that kind of energy is a really weird thing to me, but it's also, there's a degree of, it's always some degree of, if it's not a genuine comment, that's just a criticism. If it's like just hurtful, then there's a degree of mental instability that goes on that I think runs rampant in our society these days. It's a weird thing. It's like, what would possess somebody to do that? They got to be in some kind of pain inside to want to hurt someone else. So you have to just, I almost pity the people that make mean, hurtful comments and just kind of try and move on. And the other thing you do is you just block them. So there's a, on the side of your YouTube, there's a thing where you can say block user from this channel. And I just do that all day long. If somebody's mean, they're gone and that's it. And then, what are they going to do? Make another YouTube account so they can leave another shitty comment. And if they do that, that's just indicative once again of how sort of mentally unstable they are and how they're wasting their time doing things when they should be doing something productive. So you kind of look at it just as well, that's unfortunate and sad for them. That's kind of how I see it. Don't let it get to you. I know it can be hard though. That's easier said than done. I know that. Alrighty. Let's see. Steven says he's driving back from the beach weekend with his 6-year-old. Thanks for making the traffic bearable. You bet, man. Thanks for being here. James says, I was using a matchless Clubman reverb amp on a recording session at the local studio, and I was told no one uses them, but it was the best amp I ever heard. Why? Well, it's not like it's a boutique amp, so there's less of them out there. I don't know that nobody ever used them. I remember the Clubman. They did sound good. They're a nice sounding amp. And so you got to take it with a grain of salt because it's like when it comes to matchless or bad cat or, like amps that just there's not a ton of them out there. That's probably the main reason. I can think back to other amps I used on sessions that were kind of boutique. I mean, not a lot of people use Selmer either, but one of my favorite amps to play through at Linda Perry's was a Selmer combo, from the early 60s. It sounded killer. Or a modern amp was a Car 6V, Slant 6V. That was a real good versatile amp with a nice clean and a cool dirty channel and stuff. Nobody would use that either, I'm sure, because there wasn't a hell of a lot of them out there, but really, decent sounding amp, all the same. And it's just probably just down to sheer numbers, I would say, rather than a reflection on the quality of the amp. Scott is in the top chat and he says a little to help if you want a cider or two later in the day. You speak my language. You're reading my mind. I will have one. Thank you, good sir. I think I'm going to get together with my friend John Button later. and have a little hang. He had a big month. He went and played Wembley with the Who. So I want to hear about that. And I will have a cider on you, Scott. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Rob is in the top chat as well, and he says, Tim and Pete, Tim and Pete, Tim and Pete. I know, I miss Tim. Don't make me wait any longer. I know, I should hit him up and, oh, you're saying get Ian Thornley on if you can. I would love that. It's getting everybody together in the room at the same time, you know. Ian's got a tour coming up. And, you know, he's in Toronto. He lives in Toronto. So it's like, how do we all get together? We could do the tone talk kind of method, I guess, and put everybody, you know, online at the same time, but all remotely. That would be one way. But thank you for doing the top chat. I appreciate that. And thanks for mentioning Tim. Tim's so awesome. I enjoyed his video he put up this week about his, you know, he's an amp addict. It was called The Confessions of an Amp Addict or something. And that was a cool video where he's just switching all his amps and showing all the different ones. Let's see here. Scotland's in the house. We've got Braveheart Reefer. I like it. Oh, my friend Lauren, who's also plays in the Who. He stayed over there after that Wembley gig, and he's in Scotland right now. Look for Lauren Loren Gold on Instagram, and look at the pictures he's been taking of the Scottish Highlands. It's just he's putting up these stunning pictures every day where he's tripping around up there and just getting lost up in the Highlands, and the pictures get more and more amazing every day. So you might enjoy that, Mr. Braveheart, and he's having a great time over there. It does look absolutely gorgeous. Phil says, hey, Pete Thorn and Sean Tubbs, what's one guitar player that's had a big impact on your playing that folks may be surprised by, someone we may not expect to have influenced you? Well, you know, the interesting thing about that is a lot of guitar, like Pete Townsend is a big one for me. He was really my first guitar hero. And it was his sort of raw singer-songwriter approach almost, that, you know, his raw aggressive rhythm style of, you know, it was that thing, not a lead guitar thing. Obviously he's not really known for that. So I love that. But so kind of excuse me, segue from that into, I really have an appreciation for people like Neil Young and Joni Mitchell is another one. You know, even like Jewel. When I played with Jewel, I did a tour with her in 2006, and I had to learn some of her guitar players because she didn't want to play and sing a tune or two that she had cut originally in the studio when she was like 16 on guitar. So I had to learn her thing, and I would do it. I would learn it. She'd go, not exactly. And I'd be like, what? You know, what am I? And then she'd show me her exact, and I'd be like, oh. And it's something they all share, which is this sort of idiosyncrasies of a person that's writing a part for a song. As they're singing, they play a certain way. Excuse me. And it could be, you know, a finger picking pattern or a certain lilt they have in their playing. God, sorry. And I find that stuff fascinating. You know, it's like part of what makes them. You know, there's a uniqueness to it. Just as much as any shredder guitar player, or, you know, when I think about somebody like Eddie Van Halen, he's got such a unique lilt, both to his rhythm playing. Lilt is a word I learned from, I think, my first music teacher when I was playing fiddle, because I started on violin, you know, but it was really like Irish jigs and stuff was what I was into playing when I was like 9. And he would talk about lilt, like how you had to have this kind of, and it was really swing. But there was a certain feel to it, a certain lopsided kind of thing that you had to get, or otherwise it sounded stiff. And this is the same thing. It's like the lilt or the feel in certain people's playing. So everybody, like I say, from Neil Young to Jewel to, you know, Melissa Etheridge has it too in her playing. And when you sit with some of these people and you see the way they play the guitar, they've all got a unique thing that's part of, you know, their sound and their style, and makes them who they are. And so I find that stuff sort of endlessly fascinating, because it's hard to dupe that stuff, you know, just as hard as, you know, shredding and trying to nail someone's crazy licks, trying to get their feel, especially sort of finger picking acoustic players. I find it's An interesting thing. Interesting thing. James was in the top chat. He said, "Thank you. It's not my amp, but I really want one." I guess you were talking about the matchless. Is that right? Were you the fellow that was mentioning the matchless? I think so. Um, yeah. Good amps, for sure. I remember playing a Clubman a little bit maybe in the 90s or something, or early 2000s. I didn't have one, but I remember using one somewhere. I don't remember why, and it did sound good. The chat jumped to the end here, so I'm just going to start here. But Christopher Post says, "Hi Pete, any recommendations on a 112 I could buy that would work well for the PT15?" Well, Sir makes a really nice 112 that fits it perfectly because the Badger sits on top of it. So it's the same one that you would get for a Badger. I'm just not sure about the speakers. It's a PT15, so it's only 15 watts. You get whatever you want. You can put a greenback in it. Just think about what you want. I would probably recommend either a Creamback 75 or a greenback if you really want that plexi thing. If you're most concerned with kind of getting great Marshall overdrive. I mean, that H30 style will do that too. But to me, a greenback is just where that's at. So if it's a cabinet that you might want to use with other amplifiers that have a little more power, I would probably go with the Creamback 75 just to be sure. Any chance of a Sir Synergy module? That's from Tone Wars. You'd have to ask John. It's something that has been discussed, but whether or not he would move ahead with it, I'm not really sure. The interesting thing. I actually have it here, and I've got a video coming out this week. I did a demo with the Sin 1 preamp. And I think I was talking about it last week, right? Wasn't I on here? And it's almost ready to go, so it'll be out soon. But using it with the PT15 was really, really fun. Because I can utilize the amps channels, of course, and then get some alternate things like the VH4 or the Engel Powerball or whatever. Some very different sounds. My wheelhouse and the sounds I want my amp to make are a great chimey, Fendery clean thing, and then a killer British overdrive. And plexi is where my head always is, But there is this kind of darker, grindy, thing, the more sort of modern distortion that would not work for me in the context of like if I've got to play, anything approaching classic rock. To me, it doesn't really sound like that. But if you're playing heavier stuff, it sounds brilliant. And the neat thing about combining the Synergy, and you'll see this in the video, is I could do a thing where I use their preamp and I put, say, the PT15 dirty up the middle, and then I did like a channel 1 and 2 with a Powerball panned hard left and right. So, which sound very different in that particular module. And then if you put them all at the same level and push them all up with one center and the two hard left, it's just this massive sound because of the difference between the distortion character between all three of them. And it's sounded great. So it's a really neat, I think the coolest thing about the Synergy thing for me is the fact that you can have a great amp or maybe a not so great amp, and then you can essentially modify it or add things to your amplifier and get some distinctive different sort of tones that you wouldn't be able to get just out of your amp. And that to me is where the true, say with the Egnator, the original M4 preamp, which I had and used, and it was great, didn't have that ability. You'd have to use it just right out of the preamp into a power amp or out of the preamp into the return of your amp. You'd lose the channels on your amp unless you incorporated a switcher, something like a GCX or something, and then you could do it. But with this thing, right out of the gate, with just the little Sin 1 module, you can hook it up and add channels to any amplifier, and it works great and it sounds great. So, that's the coolest thing about it for me, is that, and maybe I think maybe the underappreciated thing about it, and where I tend to, think that I can lend a hand, is promoting that aspect of it a little bit. How you can augment your already, maybe great amplifier. If you've got an SLO, and you want to add a real clean channel, something you could do. Or if you got a Fender Hot Rod DeVille or something, and you want to add a real distortion channel that doesn't stink. So, yeah. And I wonder if John's still here. I see he's answering Modern Vintage's questions and stuff. That's cool. Don't want the string too close to the edge. He's talking about the rolling of the neck edges. Don't want the string too close to the edge. That's always driven me crazy about his vintage Strats. Yeah. I heard Steve Vai's comment about trolls on the Andersons channel. That's what Steven Turner said. What did he say about it? Interested about that. Sean Tubbs seconds my Noric Rinson recommendation for a tech. Be careful, could be a climate issue. He's also suggesting. Interesting. Could be. Being a guitarist, I had all the screens on the stately window, especially when, Markley, I don't know what that means. That's True Tech. Okay, I'm going to move down a little bit. Scott's asking John, he says he's getting ready to spring for a Bella. Can he order direct or does he have to find a dealer? You got to find a dealer, I think. They don't, Sir doesn't do anything direct except for a few things off their store online, as far as I know. Okay. Love your video with Doug Pinnick, says John. Are y'all going to collaborate on something? Man, I would love to at some point. I'm sure I'll do something with him at some point. We had a good time doing that video. I loved it. And then I went to see King's X not too long after that, maybe a couple months later. And that was a great show. It was great to see those guys again. Doug's a piece of work, man. That guy's amazing. He's 70 now, I think. He just he's a machine. He looks great. He sounds great. He's a good spirit. I really appreciate him. Let's see. Moving down. Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit further down. Alex says he's playing his first festivals as a sideman soon. Any advice on what definitely not to do? Well, Alex, you're probably not going to get sound checks, so you have to get comfortable with throw and go, kind of just, be ready is all I can say with festivals, and don't expect it to sound impeccable. The best way to do festivals is if you've got a sound guy and there's a digital board, and if you've dialed in and sound check all your sounds and stuff, and if you're carrying your own microphones and amps and stuff on the road, so that when your stuff gets set up and all the mics get placed and the sound guy goes over to the DigiDesign board or whatever and plugs his card in, your mix pops up and everything stays the same. That's the best case scenario, because you're not going to get sound checks and stuff. If you do that, everything stays relatively consistent. It'll sound like what you heard, at your last rehearsal. If it's not that and you're on wedges and it's just a little bit of chaos, you just got to kind of roll with it. And one thing you can do, this is a good suggestion that I heard somebody make once, and this sort of applies for anybody moving to bigger stages, especially if you think you're not going to get a sound check and stuff. Set up like the Beatles. The Beatles used to set up tight, with the amps and stuff right around the drums, and they weren't too far away from one another. So even if you got a great big stage, if you're used to rehearsing pretty close to one another or playing smaller shows, now you're going to bigger stages, don't think that you have to just set up spaced way far apart all of a sudden, because now you're, stuck with whatever that mix is going to be. If you didn't get a sound check, all of a sudden you're way far away from it. It's like, I can't hear that guy over there at all anymore, that kind of thing. So if there's any way to just kind of set up, and it's funny because I heard McCartney, somebody mentioned this the other day, who just played here last night, actually, at the Dodger Stadium. I didn't get to go, but anyway, I heard that McCartney likes to have relatively low stage volume, monitor volume. He likes the amps, actually, was what I was told, for the volume to be coming kind of from the instruments on the stage. And then the band sort of balances itself. And as much of that is, because it makes sense, right? That's what the Beatles did. There was no foldback monitors. There was no nothing, right? So as little of that maybe as possible, and just have the band really balanced and all listening to one another on stage. That kind of goes back to the, the Beatles setting up tight. If you set your band up nice and tight so you can all hear one another, you're okay. You don't need, if you can hear the drums coming right off the drum riser right there, you don't need such a great mix anymore. You don't have to worry about it, So when you get to these things, many times people will set, especially if it's not all your crew setting your stuff and whatnot, they'll assume, they'll just assume where you want to be, and your position will be way up over here, and and that's great if you're on in-ears. All this goes out the window. It doesn't matter. Once you're on in-ears, it's just like the mix stays the same. But if you're not, and you need some degree of safety and comfort to transition into being able to play, from smaller stages or rehearsals into festivals, set up tight. It feels good when you can hear. It doesn't even matter if the monitors suck that much and stuff. At that point, if you can hear your amp and if you can hear the drums, that's number one. And if you can get side fills is a good thing. Like if you don't have a lot of time to get a great mix in your wedge, just if the side fills are, put some drums in there, get some lead vocal in there, and if you can hear your amp, the drums, and the lead vocal, I can guarantee you're probably going to hear the bass and the PA and stuff. Now you're going to be cool, so you can get through it even if your wedge mix sucks. Can you sing Happy Birthday to my friend, says Jaden, and his name is Jordan. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jordan. Happy birthday to you, and many more. There you go. Adam says, Pete, you guys totally should do a show with Ian and others. I'd love to do a Tim and Pete show with Ian Thornley. I would, believe me. If I can make it happen, I will. Awesome that Tim was on the Crowded House stuff. Yeah, I love those tunes. Definitely. Are you going to do a tone talk soon, talking PT-15? I think I would love to do that. Yeah, we should do that. I'll talk to them about that. The powers that be at the Tone Talk World Headquarters. Tim's command center is a dream I wish I could have. Yeah, it's from Preston. Yeah, Tim's whole world with, it's a little tough to understand when you first sit down in it, because you're like, what is all this stuff? But he's got it dialed in. So of course it's like his world where he just knows how to run it, and it's awesome. It's pretty cool. The great thing about it is the minimum sort of path from point A to point B, getting the guitar part down and recorded, that is really cool with a great tone, and being able to do it quickly without having to get up and plug things in and, it's kind of interrupting the creative flow. He's really nailed that. And SD Design said, we are with you, Pete. You are loved. Thank you, sir. Love you guys too. I do. Thank you for being here. We got about 404 people online, and that's just perfect. Thank you for being with me on this Sunday. Let's see. Chris says, for your information, there isn't a huge number of shows, but Big Rack is starting a U.S. tour. Yeah, I can't wait to see them. Sad about their guitar player, right? Brian passing away. So sad. He seemed to, like, from the time I heard about that until the time he was gone was very, very quick. And I didn't know him. I met him a couple times, but he seemed like a very nice guy. And it's really too bad. Really, really too bad. Damn cancer. Odin Stan says, well, Scots take our scenery for granted as it's right on our doorstep, but Scotland is truly beautiful. I can relate to that because I grew up in Alberta, and I never really took it for granted, but I did become normal, like that I could drive 4.5 hours and I'd be in like something that looked like Switzerland, with the Canadian Rockies right there. But now when I think about it, it's like, God, it's absolutely one of the most beautiful places on earth. And so, yeah, it can get, I guess California is like that too. Some people think of LA as like a big jungle and urban, but the reality is you can drive an hour and a half and be up in Big Bear, or, even just up Angeles Crest is amazing. You drive straight up the 2. I remember one time in LA, it was like a New Year's Day, and it was pouring rain, and it was kind of cold. It was like 50 degrees or something. Not cold by, but, cold for LA, 48 or something out. And I was like, I bet it's snowing up there, like up Angeles Crest. And I was living in Pasadena at the time, like I do now. And so I got on the 210 and drove up to Highway 2, and I drove up, and within 20 minutes from Pasadena, I was in a snowstorm, which people wouldn't think, LA. But we were up there having a snowball fight at, because once you get above, 3,000 feet elevation or something, or 3,500 feet, it was just snow. So Yeah, 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 yeah. Stealth Parrot says the Who are funny. I really like the Who's Next, Who Are You era stuff, but there's lots of stuff I just don't like of theirs too. They were like an art rock band and sort of proto punk metal pop. I don't know what, right? It's like this weird mix, but you definitely know it's them when you hear them. I love the Who precisely because of that. They were so unique and just they were kind of weird at times, like and creative and crazy output, for a while there. And it's great to see Pete still. That guy still rocks on stage, man. I mean, for his age, it's just like he's like another Mick Jagger. He just attacks the guitar. Still, it's great. Leo's here. What's up, Leo? Man, been watching your new studio, Leo from Frog Leap Studios. I've been watching. I saw your new video that you put up from there, and it must be just an exciting adventure that you're having right now, just getting that new studio going and stuff. Plus the videos, Leo. When I met him, which was 2017, I guess it's not that long ago, and we met at the GitCon event in Germany at the Warwick factory. And not too long after that, he mentioned to me that he was thinking about starting to go out and play live and put a band together. And we talked a little bit about that. And since then, he's of course done it. And for the last year, starting out in clubs and stuff like that, and then moving to bigger clubs and I guess they probably still play big clubs sometimes, but he's gotten on this doing festivals thing. And some of those, I mean, you can tell us, Leo, in the comments, but I think you played for like 40,000 people or something recently in that one festival that you were posting photos of. You guys are just killing it. And it looks, of course, it's an incredible sort of, premise for a band playing these songs that everybody knows, but doing them metal. And it's almost like guilty pleasure, I'm sure, for metal fans, because it's like if you play a Britney Spears song, but you play it super heavy, it's like, well, I know this song, but probably a lot of those people are like, I don't even want to admit I like this song, but I love this song. And so you're playing hits and going out and just killing it, and having a great time, doing a great thing. So anyway, I've just been super stoked to see the level of gigs you guys have been playing, and that, I don't know, you're just such a inspiring dude. We were talking about internet trolls earlier, and it's like, on one end you've got Leo, and on the other end you've got internet trolls, and it's like the level of positivity and sort of staying in the light and hard work and dedication and focus it takes to go down the road that Leo's gone down is truly inspiring. And those are the people that you want to keep in your sights, as far as like, well, that's where I want to go, with just almost on a spiritual level, just keep it in the light and keep moving forward, get the work done. There's something that Leo sort of shares with Rick Beato too, I think, which is just a get it done. Like, in order to, like just sit down and do the damn work. There's a level of commitment that it takes where you can procrastinate. Anyway, I find it really inspiring because I can procrastinate and waste time. And people think, whoa, I've got high creative output and all that. And I guess maybe I do sometimes, or compared to, whatever. But I can also get lazy, I think. And I find those guys really inspiring. So anyways, Modern Vintage is up in the top chat, and he says, have you, Sir Tubbs, or anyone else played Mayonnaise guitars, Mayones? Played a few this weekend, right up there with my sirs. Would love feedback from others. Don't know about them, never have heard about them. I am sorry, good sir, that's the first that I've heard of them. John, do you know about them? I wonder. I believe Brian and Ian were friends since childhood, John said, Mr. Sir. Yeah, it's got to be a tough blow for Ian. Just crazy, it's like, because it was so fast, I think. It's just, anyways. Hey, dude, any tips on using an H9, says Robbie Rose. Number one thing about using an H9, I would say, is the editor is totally necessary. So you kind of need a manual in the editor at all times to do most things. So you got to Bluetooth up with your phone and stuff. And to be honest, I have a little love-hate with it. Like, I think H9 is, God, there's some sounds in it that are just exceptional. The rotary's great. The black hole reverb is great. Vintage delay is great. Like there's a lot of really good sounds in there. Um, I do wish they would make one that had a really intuitive user interface where I could just access most of that stuff like right on the unit. And not have to Bluetooth up. But once you get the Bluetooth going, it's just you got to go on your phone, open settings, open Bluetooth, find the H9. Now you got to go to the app, or it opens the app automatically sometimes, or maybe not. And then you got to open up the app, then it connects, and then you're there, and then you page through to the sound that you want to edit, and now you turn up the depth of your chorus. And it took me that long to get there. Now, of course, on the unit itself, you've got the 3 push buttons and the big rotary, and you can have any 3 parameters kind of on there as quick, easy. So you got to pick those things carefully, I think. And that's just the only thing about the H9. But if you're using it as a device that you can have some patience and some time to program it, get your sounds dialed in, pick those 3 things carefully that you want to show up on the front of the unit in case you need to change, say, the mix value or delay feedback or whatever you want to put on those 3, and then push store. And then hopefully you don't have to get in there that much anymore after that. And then it works just great. And they sound incredible, only just the editing. It's like I say, it's love hate, because it is really, once you get in and things working, it's like, wow, this is so cool. I can do this. And there's a lot of parameters I can change, and it's kind of intuitive and anyways, but yeah, just that's my main thing about using it, is just that. And also make sure your levels are cool and stuff. You have to set all that stuff carefully. Let's see. It kind of skipped to the end of the chat here. And Lightwing Studio says, Pete, love your video with the Fishman triple play. Actually went and bought one afterwards. It's funny. Somebody posted something about installing Fishman triple play software, and then I thought to myself, where the hell is my USB thing for my triple play? I thought that yesterday because somebody was talking about it on the gear page or something. I was looking at I have no idea where my little USB thing is. So because it communicates wirelessly, the MIDI pickup, with the computer via USB. So I got to find that. Triple play, it's pretty genius, and it sure is fun playing some of those synth sounds and being able to add some of that to your arsenal. But it can be difficult to get stuff installed. That was the only thing I had issues with, was getting the software installed. It's not really the Fishman software. It's the stuff that came with it, the East-West sample stuff, all the East-West sounds. Oh my God, man. I couldn't do it, actually. I had to get somebody to help me install it. Like one of the Fishman people took over my screen and did all the installation, and I was watching them doing it. I was like, there's no way I could have done this on my own. It was very, very, very difficult, but that's more a reflection on the East-West folks than it is on Fishman. Tone Talk says, awesome. You are doing shows with Mark Martel. Would love to see it. Yeah, he's amazing. Super fun. Super fun. Amazing singer and a great dude, and kind of just flying high right now, that's for sure. He's so busy, always flying around, playing everywhere, all over the world, really, everywhere from Kazakhstan to New Zealand to South Korea. John says, what about a mixer for the H9? Mr. Sir, I don't know. We have to talk about that. Of course, you've got your mini mix, which would work great, right? The only 2 mixers I know about are really the Sir Mini Mix 2 and the Wetter Box from the Gig Rig. Those are the 2 main ones that I know about. So either one of those would work great, I would think, for running a parallel setup. Yeah. And I'm looking up here. Sorry, I missed a bunch of stuff in the chat. What am I missing? Sorry, guys. A little lull here. What are you guys talking about? Tone Talk and John, or so you guys are talking about the feel. Feel gets lost when it's turned up louder live. It's a feel thing, but it's really close. Are you guys talking about modelers or something? Fill me in. Leo and Mary Spender's cover of Sultans of Swings is my fave, says Odin Stan. Yeah, that was a good one that Leo did. I think it's got like 16 million views or something too. It's a big video, really big video. Okay, moving down. Paul says, but Pete, we are all here. This is the Sunday Hangout. Thank you for being here. Week in and week out. You guys are faithful. I appreciate it. Oh, there's somebody in the top chat in the UK. Little pound insignia. It's Catherine. Hi, Pete. I purchased your awesome Sir Cabinet Celestion IR. I don't think it's my IR specifically. It's just the Sir. Oh, I see what you mean. My particular 212 cabinet. Yeah, got it. With the yeah, just trying to figure out a mic option for live use. 57 and 121. Vox AC30 top boost amp sim. I would pick the high gain 57 121 mix on, on my cab, I guess. Vox AC30 top boost amp sim. Well, the only thing you might want to consider is it's a different, try my cabinet, see if you like it. But honestly, for the Vox experience, you're going to want an Alnico IR, to me, in a 212 Alnico open back. And I like the Celestion ones of the Vox speakers, the Vox Blue. But to be honest, I've never quite found a Vox cabinet impulse response that I'm completely satisfied with. That is the one that is a little bit elusive, where I haven't heard one that sounds. What the best one is to me is in the aux. The aux Honkin' Silvers, I think it's called. It's one of the ones that comes up as a factory preset on the aux. It's like number 3, I think, out of the box. But it's a 212 Vox cab with silver Alnico speakers. And I don't know if this is a thing or not, but the silver ones always seem a little darker to me than the blues. I don't know if there's a reason to that, but whether or not, both in real life, I have an AC30 here out in the hallway and it's got silvers in it and it's pretty dark. But anyways, it's a tough one to find. And I'm sure maybe Ownhammer's got one because they've got a ton of AC30 ones. And I should really go through and try and find a kind of a third party, something that's not in the aux, something that you could use live, so there was one I could recommend. I don't mind the Celestion ones, but they're my least favorite, to be absolutely honest, of the Celestion IRs for just, I don't know. I think there's a hole there in the market a little bit for really awesome impulse responses for clean guitar sounds, maybe both for Fender stuff. I like some of the Ownhammer. I've heard of 410 cabinets, he's got a super style cabinet, or I think maybe a 410 Bassman. He's got some of that sound really pretty good to me. But just somebody needs to make a great package of clean impulse responses that maybe blend in, some blended ones that blend in rear microphones, because that, to me, I've come to realize. I did some for the PT15 that I quite like, but I didn't make them from scratch. I blended Celestion IRs, where I would blend a 121 and a 57 on the front, and then I would blend in a rear mic, because on the open back Celestion ones, they give you a rear SM57 mic, and it tends to bring in this fullness and kind of a natural sort of, that is a little bit more like, hearing an open back cabinet in a room. So in the PT15, there's a couple of those that I made. Anyways, plus Leo has a sick beard. Yes, he does. That's true. A quality beard. All right. Paging down, we got Lucas in the house from Brazil. He says hi. What's up? Okay. Any questions you guys have about the amp for John PT15 while he's here? You should ask him if there's anything you want to know, because it's coming out tomorrow. It's gonna be everywhere tomorrow. Let's see here. Let's see. What are you guys talking about now? I'm going to go to the end of the chat. With John, Sean, Leo, and Pete, we got to hit 200 thumbs up. Yes, please. Everybody hit the thumbs up if you're having a good time here. let's see. Let's see. What is the recommended cab to pair with the PT-15? Well, we have a matching cabinet that we've made for it. I always had an affinity for the little baby Marshall style horizontal 212 with the speakers split like that, and it looks like a little 412 cabinet. So we've essentially kind of done a design similar to that, that has a greenback in the top and a V30 in the bottom. So that's the cabinet and it's a killer little cabinet. It sounds just great. And that's the one I've been using actually in a lot of videos and stuff recently. I've got it mic'd up in the other room now, so I'm using it a lot. It's really cool. I just mic'd up the greenback with a 57 and a ribbon, and it's killer. So you'll hear that coming up this week in some videos and stuff. How many Sir amps are made so far? Says Braxall. I don't know. It's probably close to. John would have to tell you. Probably close to 100 or something like that. I think. I'm not sure how many were ordered right out of the gate, but the goal basically is that with tomorrow, when we said it's going to be available and you can check it out, it's available everywhere. So that took building a whole bunch of them and then shipping them out everywhere. So they're in Europe and I believe Asia and all over the place at this point, and the States and everything. Will I be able to try the PT-15 at Summer NAMM, says Ben. I don't know if Sir's at Summer NAMM. I have no idea. I kind of wish I was going. It's starting to look like I'm not going to be able to go to Winter NAMM because I got some work that's come up in January, so I don't think I'll be there next year. Which makes me want to, I feel like I should go to Summer NAMM, but it's too short now, and I just got too much on my plate, I think, to try and get out there. So I will miss it for 1 year, I guess. But I have no idea if Sir is going to be there or not. I'm kind of thinking no, but I don't know. John might say different. I'm not really sure. If you plug direct with PT-15, does it have less headroom than, say, a 50-watt tube head? That's from Leo. If you plug direct with a PT-15, I'm sorry, Leo, I don't understand the question because I don't know how the two correlate. Like, for sure, a 15-watt amp is going to have less headroom than a 50-watt amp. But if you're plugging in direct, it doesn't matter anymore because now you just set the level for where you want it, and then you gain it up at the board and get it in your in-ears or in a powered speaker, and you're utilizing the PA and stuff. So, maybe the more sort of relevant question would be, could you make it sound like the tone of a 50-watt amp? And I think what people are going to discover quickly with it is that it sounds kind of humongous. It doesn't. The sound of the 15 watts. It sounds like a great big bold. Especially on the dirty channel, to me, it's like got that, like, I don't know, it's just got a robust, big amp kind of sound to it. It doesn't sound like a small amp, if that makes sense. Like a cranked up amp that's blowing up and kind of like, it's got more like the tone of a high power amp. If you crank the clean channel and push it into drive, now you can get into some kind of tweedy stuff for sure. But the character of the amp to me has a real big character to it. Sean Tubb says, hit the thumbs up, people. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. I do. And let's see. Matt says, do I have any particular philosophy on recording stereo guitar tracks versus doubling? Not really. If I'm doing a stereo thing, it's generally because I'll want a particular effect, like a rotary thing where it's swirling around. And that's generally when I would do stereo as opposed to doubling. Doubling is when you want to reinforce something and make it fat and wide, but you want that slight variation between the two core parts. So in other words, if it's not an effect, like I would probably never record the stereo thing where you do like a split delay, like maybe 250 on one side and 500 milliseconds on the other side, and you play a rhythm part and you use that live or something. I would never probably do that in the studio. That wouldn't be like a studio thing I would do. Just for me, like having a mono guitar up the middle when I'm doing a recorded track, it can work sometimes, but if there's vocals on a song, I don't really want a mono guitar up the middle, generally speaking. I want to pan things out a little bit. So for the most part, to me, it's like different colors coming into the stereo spectrum, panned all around whatever's coming up the middle, which is generally either like the vocal, or unless there's a featured guitar solo or something like that. If you add a stereo effect to the guitar, that's something like I say, like maybe a stereo panner or a tremolo, and it's going like this. Now you've got a different thing that's kind of like it's out here and the focus isn't right in the middle. Does that make sense? So it's just kind of a different thing. So I would say stereo if I'm going for a particular effect that pans around and does some kind of washy thing, and hard panned guitars, or either that or mono guitars in different parts coming in if I'm just doing sort of more typical guitar parts. I hope that makes sense. Have I ever tried a Dumble? I have. Yeah, I've tried a number of them. Most recently in Japan, I played a combo that was there. Guy had a overdrive special combo, I think it was, and it was pretty fun. I put up a video of it, I think, on my Instagram back in I guess it was 2018. I guess it was last year, but it was fun. I was, had it cranked up and was just playing some bluesy stuff. It was cool. Good sounding amp, actually. Yeah. John's talking about roasting. I think somebody must have asked him, Modern Vintage, about roasted necks and roasted bodies. And he's saying, I find most of the advantages in the neck, but Henderson has some roasted bodies he picks just by listening. You made me one too, John. The white guitar I have here. You may not remember, but this one's roasted. So you guys can see this guitar has a very dark body because it's roasted alder, actually. See in the scrapes and stuff. This guitar does have a real great resonance to it, and of course roasted neck, roasted body, everything's roasted, and it's pretty damn cool, actually. I love the neck on this guitar too. If anybody's looking for a cool neck to order on a Sur, first of all, I love the way 21 frets look in the rounded end of the fingerboard, so that's what this has, which is neat. It looks a little more traditional, but this guitar has the 60s C standard neck shape, which I've grown to really appreciate and like a lot. And it's also got the slightly less radiused fingerboard than what a lot of Surs come with. So this one would be a 9 to 12 as opposed to 10 to 14. And I like this 9 to 12 radius. You can even see it it's just got a little more curvature in the fingerboard down low. And it just has a really, really nice sort of just very playable kind of, for everything feel to it. It's a nice all-round, really good feeling guitar that you can still kind of shred on and all that, but it's a little more vintage feeling with this particular neck, the vintage C standard, I think they call it, 60C standard. Is that right, John? I think. And then the 9 to 12 radius. Highly recommended if you want, kind of a little more vintage, but yet still highly playable instrument. And the roasted thing is really cool on that guitar, on the body. I don't know how much different it sounds than if it's just a, if it was just a standard alder body. But Paul Floyd says best way to wire a 212 and 412 off one head and balance cab volumes. When I do it, the 412 is much quieter than the 212. What speakers are in each cabinet, and also you got to make sure that the ohmage is, they got to be like, if you've got two 8-ohm, an 8-ohm 412, and you could be having a weird impedance mismatch there, because they're not most 412s are either 16 ohms or the Marshall ones can be 16 or 4 switchable. Some are 8. The Sur ones are 8, but less, I would say, are 8. So make sure, maybe it's an impedance thing. And could be down speakers too. Like, I guess if you had a 212 that was angled a certain, it depends on the design. If you had a 212 with V30s and a 412 with greenbacks, the 212 might sound louder, maybe. What do you think of the JJ Jr. by Friedman? Haven't played it. I know he's had great success with it. Seems like they can't make him fast enough, so that's good for him. Seems to make sense, It's like the Jerry amp, the powerful one, the big one, the 100-watt one, I think is his most successful signature amp by far. So Yeah, I know. Uh, yeah. Sean Tubb says to John, "What little I've heard of the PT-15, I would say it certainly does not sound like a small amp." I can't wait to see what you could do with it, Sean. We got to get one to you so you can rock it out in the studio. Yeah. Down at the bottom of the chat, I just kind of skip forward. John saying Pete gig with it. I think you're talking about the PT-15, maybe the size, whether or not it's loud enough. I did gig with it, and it was pretty loud drummer too. I've only used it on one show so far, but it went really well. Just a club show, but it was, it's so cool to just be able to take the line out and run it right to the board and go, here, just give me some of that in the wedge, and it was plenty loud enough, even with a full band with keys, bass, the whole 9 yards. And Blackstrap Blue says, congrats on the release of the PT-15. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. J Rocket Archer silver or gold. I don't know about the difference between the silver or gold tonally, really. But I use the one, and I think you can order off his website that with the components that he makes, like Jeff Beck's out of, which is just a few different parts, I think, or something. And that's the one I would get. Mine's silver with the Jeff Beck kind of mods or whatever. And I think it sounds killer. I don't know. I've never A-B'd it either. Oh, no, I did A-B it once to a regular one. I did think it sounded a little like, he sent me one to check out, Chris Van Tassel. And I was like, I think I do hear it sounds a little different and is a little sweeter or something. I don't know. I just like the tone of it. So I popped it on my board and I never looked back. I love a good Klon, man. You know what the thing is? They bond with a Marshall so well, Marshall style amp. I realized, when you're playing, like, for instance, this week I did a demo of the Synergy stuff, pairing it with my PT-15. So I used no pedals. And when you're playing solos through a Marshall style amp with a lower output pickup, and it's a Marshall, it's not JTM 45 or something. It's a thinner sounding, later, more aggressive Marshalls, right? To me, they have a little less, and they're a little bit tighter and all that. When you're using a PAF or something and you get up high, they can be thinner sounding just because of the amp sound. And that's the thing the Klon gives you that's so wonderful, right? It's the same as a tube screamer, I guess, in a way, but just a different way of going about it. It's not quite the same sound, but similar in that the added mids with a PAF and a Marshall-y sort of bass tone give you this great thick thing up on the high strings, and without it, it can tend to get a little shrill at times. That's the only thing I find. So that's why I love them for lead. But there's no free lunch, because with those, the beautiful thing about that tone is that it works with chords so well. This is the thing I learned in the 80s about, like, boogie guitar amps, Mesas, that they sounded nice and fat when you were playing lead, liquidy and fat and all that. But when you play chords, it was mushier and more, way more mids. And Marshalls sounded great for chords and great for rhythm guitar parts. And when you played lead with them without a pedal, especially, like I say, unless you had a Duncan JB or something in your guitar and real fat mids, which then killed your ability to really get good clean sounds. But that's what I'm saying. There's no free lunch. So that's where the Klon is just perfect. It just adds all those, or Archer or whatever, just adds all the magic mids in there for lead. Let's see here. Somebody's asking John about a Sur amp for surf guitar. John's a big super reverb guy. He loves supers. So you might be able to get a pretty cool surf tone out of the Bella, I would think. Honestly. Maybe the Bella with, maybe just a pedal pushing it a little bit or something. Don't discount the Bella dirty either. If you run it at 22 watts, especially, but even on high power and you turn it up, it sounds so good. It's actually a really good sounding amp for stuff like that. Let's see. Paging down a little bit here working my way down a little bit lower. Ah, man, the chat just jumped. Do I know of a non-stupid way to make a small box plexi not look stupid on a 112 cab? Oh, God, the chat just jumped so far. I was in the middle of reading a question and it jumped. So now I've completely lost it. Anyway, somebody was asking about, I missed who with the name, but somebody was asking about putting I know what you mean, like a small box head on a 112 cabinet. There's no way I can think of to get around that. Put the head on its side. That's the problem, you know. To be honest, I'm not a big 112 guy. I don't know about you guys, but anytime I've ever taken it to a band practice and gone, I can get away with a 112, and you know, it's like it always sounds boxy and kind of crappy to me. That's my honest assessment. I like 212s, and which is why both my cabs, I guess, with Sir are both 212s. I'm willing to carry the damn thing because it sounds so much better to me. I mean, it's like night and day to me, actually. 112 sound okay for recording to me, but just in a room when I'm trying to jam with a band, it's just never enough for me. Which clone do I recommend? Says Wrecking Crew. The Tumnus. Well, I use the Archer, but the Tumnus is great. I've done demos of them for Wampler and stuff. It's almost like Rocket got to me faster, you know, with the Archer, and I just started using them, and I didn't hear a Tumnus till later, and it's similar, probably equally as good. I don't know, you know. I'd have to back them and hear, but it is a really good pedal. Even the mini one sounds great too. Yeah. So I can recommend it. I got great tones out of it I've got videos for the Tumnus on my channel. Do I think a mic pre is a worthwhile investment, says Chris, or in your opinion, can the same results be achieved with just an interface and plugins? Well, it's so damn close, to be honest. I mean, the UA interfaces and then using the virtual Neve, plugin, it sounds great. I mean, I don't know. I've never done an AB, so I'd have to do that. I've got, my BAE Neve here, which I used every day. I love the ability, if you guys could see it, it's got a gain. The BAE has a gain knob, impedance switch, and then an output knob. So it's like a mic pre-gain and then an output knob. And I love to be able to just reach over here and I want a little more 57. I want a little more ribbon and I can just reach out and do it. I've got a summed output on my BAE mic pre. So in other words, it's summing both, channels 1 and 2 out. One output, it's plugged right into my interface into a line in, and then I just pull up that on a guitar track. So when I'm miking an amp, I can just literally just blend the microphones out that one out and then just enable the track. And it's more that, than it almost is the tone, but the tone of it, and I've been doing the thing lately where to get the sound, I kind of turn the outputs down on the mic pre, and then I drive the mic pre up until I hear it distorting, and then I go back a click or two, and then I turn up the output a bit more. So I'm probably getting a little bit of grind that I'm just not perceiving as distortion out of the mic pre, but that's good stuff. That fatness as you sort of drive a Neve is a pretty cool thing. So it was described to me a while ago that that's the best way to set them is drive them into distortion and then back them off a hair and then bring up the output. And so I've been doing that, and it just, it's that good kind of drive that, as you're saturating the pre a bit. But anyways, you could simulate the similar thing in the digital world easily with the UA. And I would say initially, if you've got other stuff to get, like it's much more important to get a good interface and a nice set of monitors and a good set of headphones, get that stuff all squared away. So you have the basics. And then later on, adding things like outboard mic pre's and compressors and stuff like that. That's now become a little bit of a luxury. Used to be 100% necessary. Like if you got an ADAT and a Mackie mixer and, pair of monitors, and then you thought you were going to get great sounds recorded, it sucked. Like back in the 90s, it was like, oh, and then we quickly realized we needed all this stuff on the front end to help. Like your signal chain became really, really important all of a sudden in the early 90s because you were recording 16-bit 44.1 ADATs and they sounded kind of crappy. And so warming it up going in and all that became really important. Nowadays, it's not, as it's gotten to that point where with the UA stuff and virtual mic pre's and stuff. And they sound so damn good that it's like you can just make a record with, I did drums on my album on 2 or 3 songs here out in my live room area, but I didn't have, this wasn't built yet and all that stuff. And I just had my interface out there and I plugged in all the mics and I used virtual mic pre's on 8 channels on the UA, and I recorded Kurt Buscara that way. And it sounded killer, I got great results, I feel like. So I would say the mic pre's you can think of it as adding pedals, just different colors. How do you keep your coffee warm throughout the whole chat? It's my Rocket Cargo thermos mug. It'll stay hot all day. Actually, I don't normally have that here. Normally it gets cold, and then by the second hour, I'm screwed. 12:30. I'm going to go another half an hour or so. Robert Baker's here. Robert, are you doing your live stream today? I wonder. This is a good hang. We've had so many fun friends dropping in. All right. John Sir's talking about pizza. He just got back from his Spanish vacation. He says he had good pizza in Barcelona, where they were all Italians. Of course, the Italians, they know how to make the pizza the best. If this chat had Ian Thornley or Andy Wood, the internet would implode, says Chris. It's a good thing, all you good folks. Archer's still my favorite clone. That's Sean. Sean, what do you like about it? I'll ask you, like over other ones. Does a clone work with a buffer? Says Robbie Rose. Yes. Yeah, no problem with a buffer and a clone. What do you like about the Archer? It's still my favorite too, but then again, I don't really have anything to base that on, other than just I've used it and I love it. So the Tumnus always sounded good to me too, but I'd be interested. What do you like about it? Yep, Bella, says Sean. I agree. And that was going back to that surf comment, I think. Hello, Pete from Buenos Aires, says Daniel. What's up, man? Miss it down there? I miss it. Let's see. Bella River was beautiful, says John. But I don't like spring in general. John likes high-tech tones. No, John likes some old. John's all about, correct me if I'm wrong, John, but Mountain, first 2 ZZ Top albums, and then he likes really great 80s kind of guitar sounds, like the clean stuff with, Bradshaw rigs and lexicons and stuff like that. Let's see. Pete, is there a style of pedal you once scorned but value now? That's a good question. I mean, chorus has always kind of come in and out of favor, and now I kind of love it. I just unabashedly use it if I want to. Probably that. Like mod can be, can get to be a little much. Wah is a real, I'm not a wah guy. I never have been, but every now and then it's amazing. I just like funky wah guitar solos or whatever. Just not my deal, really. But I like using wahs in kind of unconventional ways, like using them like a filter where they start dark and then slowly open up like that on parts and stuff. I like stuff like that. Just the kind of the typical things that people would do when they turn on a wah kind of drives me crazy a little bit. Okay, moving down. Have I come across a Thai guitarist, says John, named Jack? I don't know this guy you're talking about. I have not. Is he awesome? Is Paul Davids here? Paul Davids is in the house too. Wow, this is amazing. This is a good party. Good old Paul. I miss you, bud. Let's see. I'm confused. I'm looking through all the comments and stuff, just looking for. Sean says, when I tried the Archer, I was finally okay with selling my original Klon. Wow, that's a big endorsement right there for sure. The original Klon is one thing. I know Sir has one. It's like kind of a thing I didn't want to think would be better, but I tried the original Klon against like a couple other pedals I had here, some Klon clones, and I liked it better. And there was one here that was Oliver Lieber's or something, a gold one, and I was like, "Holy shit, it is really great and kind of different." And I went back and forth and back and forth, tried to dial, and then I was like, it is a little bit better. So, and which I didn't, I wanted to be like, basically like, yeah, this is all just hogwash, but it wasn't. Who knows why? Do I have any pre-gig rituals to get me pumped up for a gig? I get pumped up enough. I always get that little bit of nervousness before a gig, which probably half a can of Red Bull doesn't help. But sometimes I like to do that before I go on, depending on the gig. It's the only time I will drink that crap. It's but it's actually probably not good because then I'll like in song number 3. Sometimes I feel like my pulmonary system just like feeling like it's overloaded. Anyways. Other stuff that I do, I just like to warm up and play, really. Just play slowly. It doesn't even have to be just to get my hands synced up, And sometimes listening to tunes is fun. Every band's different, but there's bands I've been in where, like one band where we had a turntable backstage and we used to play like Daft Punk and AC/DC and stuff like that, like before the gig. And it was fun to play records before a gig and just get everybody in kind of like a loose sort of, music party mood. Have a glass of wine, just get ready. Pretty cool. Yeah. How many people go? We got 427 people online. We got some great folks here. And I think Paul Davids was here, if he's not still. John Sir, Sean Tubbs, Mr. Robert Baker. It's the place to be, folks. Happy that you're here. I hope you all have a happy PT15 day tomorrow, says Jim Phelps. That's right. Tomorrow the amp comes out. I will be out at Sir. I'll be there at 4 p.m. tomorrow for a live stream. I'm going to be there all day doing stuff, actually, but live stream on Facebook, I believe, on the Sir Facebook. So watch out for that. And we're going to talk about the amp and all that good stuff. And plenty of people, if they pre-ordered, they should be getting them. Should be able to get them tomorrow, I would think, if not within a day or two. Yeah. Adam says, good luck with the PT15. Pete's videos on it sound brilliant, and it's practically on a whole new level. Super cool. Thank you. Appreciate that, man. I'm super excited about it. The most exciting thing for me is to see people getting them. Like a couple guys got them already, and one guy posted the best comment I can think of, which is just like, he said, it's 2 a.m. and I can't stop playing. My wife's in bed, and this is so cool because I can rock out and be playing at 2 a.m. with this tone. And that's what I want to hear, just if people are having fun playing guitar. That's the number one thing, getting good work done and also having a good time. What more can you ask for? Let's see. My power supply units keep failing. Is this common? I would say no. That's W. Sendarius. What kind of power supplies? Is it like for pedal power or something? Wonder what you're using. I use the Friedman ones now. They've worked great for me on the road for a while. Before that, I used G-Lab, and they were also... I took a backup on the road just in case because I was kind of taxing them. I remember I had like every output plugged in and stuff, and I never had a failure in a number of years. So the G-Lab ones work good. The Friedman seemed good too. I don't know. Let's talk about your use of your noise suppressor in your rig. Where do you place it in the chain? Just the simple Joyo. Yeah, I literally bought a $29 used, or maybe it was a Moorer or Joyo, and it's on my pedal board, and it's a simple little gate, and I run it on the output of my Archer because they can add a little noise. One of the things with my rig is that live in Japan, I use a Shure wireless, and the Shure adds a little noise. Even the high-end ones, they add like this little hiss to the signal when I set up when I carefully balance the gain and everything, so it's exactly like a cable. But there's a little bit of an extra hiss coming out of the thing. So going into gain, of course, it gets bumped up, and then adding a pedal on top of that, it's just like a bit of a sound on the lead sound, when I'm not talking about ground noise or anything. I'm just talking about hiss, that hiss that's getting amplified to the front end. So on the output of the Archer, that's where it's in that loop. So it's only on when I switch on that loop and the pedal. And then it works really well. If I've got the pedal board hooked up actually, and I want to use, like if I need to gate for some other reason, I can just, and I don't want the Archer, I can just go to that loop and I turn off the Archer, and then the gate's on, and I can, so in the studio or something, it works quite well for that as well. if I'm in a kind of a noisy environment. The other one I've done is just occasionally I've run, like I was at SIR Studios rehearsing for a tour in 2016, and my rig, the just whatever that room was, like very lot of pickup noise, a lot of RF coming in the pickups, and so I brought a noise suppressor, MXR noise gate thing, the MX, the little gray one, and I just ran that right out of my wireless before it hit my board. I just ran it on the side of the board. That works good too. That gray MXR is quite good, I find. And that was just to mute, like I say, some of that crap that was coming in the pickups in between songs and stuff. If the volume on the guitar was up, I didn't want all that noise coming. Once the band starts playing, and I'm pretty lenient with that. Like I don't single coils and stuff. I don't need noiseless pickups and stuff. I get it. I play my vintage Strat on stage sometimes, or my old Telly. It doesn't bother me. That stuff it's part of guitar and music to me, like a little bit of noise coming in and stuff. It's not that big of a deal to me personally. I appreciate the noiseless pickups in the serves, a noiseless system in the serves and stuff. I do, but I don't mind playing regular single coils. I really don't. It doesn't drive me crazy, but sometimes it gets crazy. So all that said, and then a little gate in front of the amp, because once you start playing, you can't hear it. Once the damn drummer's nailing the crash cymbal, I don't know. I don't notice it. Red Bull does that to me too, says David. I stick to coffee. I think my body is more familiar with it. Yeah, Red Bull is a little, it's kind of, I don't know if it's like a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing to do certainly not on a regular basis. If you have any kind of hypertension, I would say it's a no-no, because it definitely does, I probably shouldn't, with a history of like a little bit of strokes and stuff like that in my family on my mother's side and stuff like that. I would say it's probably not the best thing in the world to be drinking Red Bull. I drink too much coffee as it is, but anyways, as you can tell, I've been drinking it all morning. Now I'm talking like this because okay, I'll stop. I prefer 5-hour energy, says L. Scott Music, Mr. Lauren, but I actually get the Costco energy shot and drink just a half. Makes the tired go away. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, you don't have to have the whole thing, right? Just a little bit. I can't play if I'm jittery. I can play coffee and caffeine. I can play. I just don't like the feeling of it's weird. I can still play and I can almost focus better. But it's when I notice that happening, or I can feel it, I kind of feel it in my whole, like, it's this like, I don't know how to describe it. I guess it's just blood pressure. It's probably what it is, but it's just a weird thing. It's not available yet at Toman yet. The glorious PT15, says Marty. Yeah, but maybe tomorrow or this week. Should be, if they've got any on order, the date was supposed to be this week, so we will see. Bought the MXR 5150 after I saw and heard your review. Best thing I ever bought for my guitar. So thanks, says Sortino S. You bet. Designed by George Trips. He did a nice job on that pedal. I think it's a good sounding pedal. And my goal with that first video I made was to get a convincing Van Halen 1 sort of sound, because I saw a lot of people playing heavier stuff through it, and I thought, I want to see if this will sound like an old Marshall, basically. Evidently, when they tested it, I heard that they had it hooked up to the return, like they were using it like an amp channel, essentially, and they were running it into the effect return of a 5150, and they were going back and forth between the real front end of the amp and then the pedal, and they got to the place where they weren't really hearing a difference testing it that way. So it was supposed to emulate the channel of the amp, of his 5150 amp. But anyways, I thought I think it's a good pedal. I do. Brooks Berg says he's talking to Sean, and what's he talking about? Oh, you guys are talking amongst yourselves. I don't know. Too deep for me to understand. Chat went all wow. It's a good chat today. 430 people online or so, and it's going fast and furious. Going to see Big Wreck in Nashville in October, says Roscoe. He can't wait. Yeah, I'll definitely check them out when they're in LA. I think it's a ways off, the gig, but yeah. Tom J says, finally catching PT's live. Thanks for all the good work and hours of time watching videos while I do my exercises. Man, like this kind of exercises or this kind of exercises? It's I should be exercising more. I'm gonna go to the gym this week and get back into it. I completely fell out of that habit about 6 months ago, and I got to start going again. Yeah. Sean's got a video on the Silver Archer. I guess Brooks is bringing up. I want to watch that as well. Everybody, check out the video that Sean did for the Archer. I'm gonna check that out. Have I made a video? Yes, I've made a video for the Archer. Absolutely. Yeah, I have. It was years ago, but at least 3-4 years ago. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, this is interesting. Mike's got some opinions about. Actually, Mike's saying it's from Rocket. Klon, a bit warmer, more compressed. Silver Archer, more lively, less compressed than the Icon Silver Archer Jeff mod, which has smoother top end, bright, tighter low mid, and also more mids. That's interesting. I didn't know that. They just told me they did the mods for Jeff and stuff, and I tried it. I went, oh, I do think I like this one better, but I never really thought about the differences. Smoother top end than a regular Silver Archer. Okay. It works great for me. In front of my PT amp or a Marshall circuit, it is my favorite, just great lead sound. Pete, you got to give us one hobby, non-musical related, says Chris Cam. My hobbies? I'm practicing Japanese, actually, is my main thing I love to do these days. So I've been trying to learn forever hiragana and katakana, which is the Japanese alphabet. So I use this thing, and this is this great app, and it's gonna mu. Okay, so mu looks like this is a hard one to draw, but you go like this, and then see how it gives you the symbol behind. And bu. So that is bu. That one. Hey is that one. So is that. Oh, I did it right, but it didn't tell me I did it right. Yeah. Ra is this, and this. So this is learning, I'm working on being able to read and write Japanese. What else we got here? Coffee calms me down, says Sir. I feel pretty hyper right now. I've had a pot and I'm flying. Coffee is the nectar of the gods, says Lightwing Studios. I agree. It's good stuff. I mean, I just I go to bed looking forward to getting up in the morning so that I can make coffee. It's true. September Fire says to Sean Tubbs, have you played a Klon through an AC-15? I wonder, AC-15. AC-15 is such a unique amp because of the EF86 front end and stuff. It's a different kind of sound. Probably a pretty cool. The more mids, the better. Mid it up. Makes the guitar poke through. Let's see here. Feel free to do a stir clinic in the Midwest sometime. There would definitely be some interest, says Dr. Cheeseburger. Well, we're talking about doing some. What we're talking about right now is something in Colorado, something in Omaha, and Texas, I think, which is in the Midwest. But a couple coming up. If you've got a Sir dealer, I always say go there and tell them you want it. Go there and tell them you want me to come do the clinic, and that you're hearing that other dealers are doing it, and can they ask their Sir rep about getting me in to do a clinic? And that'll be helpful for sure. I love doing them. It's a lot of fun, and we're definitely talking about 3 to 5 or something on the books over the next little while for sure, like in August. So there should be some more coming soon. Yeah. I'm not sure if this is the same question or not. Travel by Rock is asking, can I talk about the design of the new 212 cabinet with the PT15IR? Because somebody asked about that earlier. But basically, it's a square, it looks like a little baby 412, essentially, with a split greenback and V30 like that. And it's small enough and light enough that it's real easy to cart around, relatively speaking. Fits the head perfectly. And I just always liked those cabinets. Basically, was familiar with a couple of them. Divided by 13 used to make one like that. Marshall had one for the 2061X head. I think they made one for a while. But a little baby 212. I used to have one of the mini Marshall 410s in the 80s actually, and so that was my first experience with a cabinet that size. It was a little A style cabinet. Our cabinet that we've done is a B, B cabinet with the speakers angled back a little bit, so it's a full depth, but it just sounds really big. And I don't know, I love it. Sounds great. We tried it with a whole bunch of different speakers, V30s, creambacks, and greenbacks, and even the Neo ones and everything. We settled on a greenback and V30 as being a really nice combo for this amp. Two greenbacks sounded great too, but the lower efficiency I was mentioning earlier of greenbacks can maybe work against you a bit when you've got a 15-watt amplifier. So having the V30 in there give it a little bit more thrust. Yeah, just sounded a little bigger. Yep. All right. Let's see. Preben Elkas is up in the regular chat there. He says, my ritual is a good meal just before the show. Then I'm super relaxed and my body is content. Never touch alcohol when playing. Alcohol and guitars don't mix. For me, one drink helps me. Takes the edge off. I play less analytical. Just gets me in the mood a little bit, I must say. But any more than that, it's probably not a good idea. But yeah, one like a glass of wine's real nice before a gig to chill me out, for sure. I can't eat too close to the gig. For me, it's got to be an hour and a half before, because I need to digest just a little bit. If I eat an hour before a show, so I'm finishing like 45 minutes before the show, I'm just like, when I get on stage, I don't feel good. And sometimes it happens. I hate that when, food shows up and it's 45 minutes before the gig. Guys, dinner's here. It's like, oh, man. I always, because I just know I'm going to get on stage and feel like, right after eating, I don't want to go like change my clothes, get amped up, and then go run on stage. It doesn't feel good to me. I like to digest a bit, get over the blood going to your belly to digest. Like 2 hours before the gig's good for dinner for me. If a show's at 7:30 or something, if I eat at 5:30, that's pretty good. Then I feel like you get some of the energy from food and stuff like that, but you're not all bloated. I don't know. It's different for everybody, eh? Yeah. Tom says, have I seen the new Fryette Power Station 100 that is coming out? Sort of like a Power Station 2 with KT88s and double master volumes. I haven't, but I have heard about it. Yeah. I wonder, seems like a pretty, like, great. I mean, some guys, I guess that'll be great, Two KT88 seem to sort of make sense maybe for like something like a transparent kind of power amp for sure. Double master volumes is nice so that you could, I guess, foot switch and get a solo level. Pretty cool. Yeah. Okay. Moving down. Paul Ewing says the Eris, is that the name of it? Eris Gate is so easy to use. Even a bass player can use it. I see what you did there. Yeah. Let's see. The chat jumped all the way to the end. In my college cover band days, it was 2 drinks before the show and 1 drink per set break. But then again, I was 23 and I could handle it. And that was Matt. Yeah, I know. It can, it's funny thing, drinking and playing. For sure on tour. Oh, Sean Tubbs has got to go. See you later, Sean. Great to see you here. Thanks, man. Thanks for being here. You, sir, are the best. And I hope to see you somewhere soon, because we never get to hang. But thanks for stopping by, and have a great week. Drinking and playing is a funny thing. I just had to kind of, at different times in my life, certainly while on tour and stuff like that, it can become normal to just like when you look back on it, you go like, wow, I've had like 5 drinks a day pretty much almost every day for the last 3 weeks. That's not uncommon if you're in a band and you're on the road, right? Because you could have one before the gig or maybe 2, and then you maybe have one during the gig, and then afterwards you have a couple beers, right? Or you're on the bus and you're up till 1 in the morning, and that becomes like very routine. And then when you look back on it, you go, well, that's like alcoholism by any standards, you know? Uh, and so it's really good to keep a lid on it when you're on the road and just try to you could when you're young, it's like one thing, but you don't want it to develop into some sort of issue or I guess, so if there's any way to kind of just always good to moderation is key in everything in life, right? You don't want to like also eat like a pizza every night after the gig on the bus. Wow, I ate pizza every night at 1 a.m. for the last 5 days. That's not good either. So Adam is in the top chat. Thanks, man. He says, congratulations on the new amp release. Wish we could get the virtual PT100 outside of buying a UA device. Yeah, it was Brainworks, and it was really them, Plug-in Alliance, Brainworks. They were the ones that said, hey, we would love to do a signature, version of your thing for that platform. And that's kind of how they work. So it was really them and they did such a marvelous job on it, I don't think it would be possible for anybody else to do a better job than them. So that's the only thing, when you go out and you start, like all of a sudden there becomes a version of it in the Helix or something, or there becomes a version of it for, some other plugin format. It's like, now are they all good, or how close are they all? And it gets a little, so I actually love that the one that came out is so damn good that it's right up. I mean, we can basically, I think, comfortably say like it's right in there in the line with, you got the PT50 and the PT100, you got the plug-in, and they're quality things, all of them equal quality, I think. So that feels good to me. Yeah, and I also feel like it's nice we waited, because I've tried, even some of the Brainwork stuff. They've always done a good job, but it's like I feel like they really came into their own in the last couple of years, especially. And so it's like I feel like we waited long enough with the plug-in thing where it's like, okay, it's really kind of arrived now to where it does actually really sound incredible, the plug-in. And maybe had it been 2-3 years earlier, it'd be like, yeah, it's pretty good, but I don't know if I'd feel as good about it as I do to wherever they've, I just think they've been getting better, is what I'm saying. Yeah, Dan says reluctantly, says I'm going to have a glass of wine right now. Good to see you, my friend. High five. Hey, enjoy. It's Sunday. Enjoy. Derek says I've always gigged sober. It's probably the best, if you can, obviously, if you don't have to rely on something or even feel like, oh, it would be nice to have something right now before you, if you can go out there and do it, that's the best, man. I get too hyper before going on stage to eat, says Lawrence. It has to be a couple of hours before the gig. Yeah, me too. Yeah. It doesn't make me feel good. Like the combination of the nerves of the gig and having just eaten a big meal, it's weird. Yeah. And the power flux is if I eat before a gig and I'm singing, I get belchy. Exactly. I hate feeling that, you're trying to run around and it's like you just had a meal. It just doesn't work good for me. Singing right after you've eaten can be interesting, says please stay tuned. Exactly. Yeah. Somebody's in the top chat. It's Tom. What's up, Tom? He says he smokes the good old reefer every day, but not with the goal of getting high. I moderate and control my amount, as I only use it before bed to combat insomnia. It's become so much more mainstream now, especially here in California. My God, man, it's everywhere. All in moderation, as long as things aren't a problem, right? I have no judgment about such things at all. I think it's all good. The only thing with me with that stuff is like it's nice when to keep it special, because I find if you use something daily, it can tend to become like less. It's just sort of a normal feeling then, and like so with be it alcohol or pot or anything like that, it's like it's nice to have a, if it's not a harmful thing really, and you moderate it, it's fun to do once in a while when you're you're watching a movie and you want to, all right, I'm gonna splurge tonight and eat a tub of Ben and Jerry's Cherry Garcia and just enjoy. Then like a little pot or whatever can be like, that's the neat thing to keep it special. Not, and if it becomes like a daily routine, I don't know, that'd be my only, but that's just me. That's me. Having to pee while trying to finish an entire set. Yeah, true tech. Yeah, that's always a problem. Got to go right before you go on. I hate realizing that I forgot to do that and I'm on stage and I'm like, oh my God, I'm only 2 songs in. What's going to happen 7 songs in? Is there going to be a drum solo tonight so that I can run off stage for a minute? I want to get the cleans of the normal channel of my AC30 more sparkly high end with a pedal. What would you recommend? Maybe Klon, treble booster, rolled off fuzz face. You could try all that. A germanium treble booster, maybe, or fuzz face. Try fuzz face that's known for like what I was doing in my video when I did that recently. And then it would probably be right up your alley, I would think. Anything that does that impedance thing where it's the first pedal in line. Paul Ewing says moderation is overrated. Certainly when you're 90, just go for it. Go crazy. Once you're 90, just start smoking. Enjoy. If you make it that far, you may as well just have at it. I run my own company and am a single parent with no issues. That's awesome, Tom. I would never assume. I wasn't saying. I was just talking about myself. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, God, pot is everywhere, man. Everybody's like, in California, it's like, it's pretty common now. It's just all over the place, which is a great, it's used in so much less harmful than alcohol. Let's be honest. Oh my God. It's like, alcohol will kill you in one night if you drink enough of it. But pot, I find moderation hard to moderate, says Lawrence. Well, that's the struggle that we all have. Yeah. You and I seem to end up at the same gigs in LA a lot. Did you go see Jawbox last night, says Simon? I did not. What did I do last night? I went and had a gluten-free pizza, having said all I said about pizza. And then I went home and watched Flight of the Conchords. That was my night last night. What else have we got here? Sounds like Gene Simmons claims to have had not one drink ever. That's Dallas. Yeah, there's folks like that, Gene was one of them, but he's got his vices, which is ladies, I think. Let's see. What else we got here? Pete, what's the rest of 2019 look like? Would the Colorado clinic be this year? Yeah, August, I think, coming up next month. So we're trying to. I'll know tomorrow. I'll know more because we got to lock down the clinic schedule because it's getting to be short on time here. I like them to at least know a month in advance so they can put up. A month is good, like for promo and whatnot. Hi Pete, do you know any good guitar stores in New York City worth a visit? What's funny is I haven't been in there in so long. For whatever reason, I haven't been to New York in like 5 years now, which is so dumb. But basically the last time I was there, I was touring with Melissa Etheridge. And since then I've been touring out of the country, like Japan and France, getting gigs over there. So I just haven't had a US tour, which means the occasion hasn't come up for me to go to New York in years. So what's still there, guys? I mean, there's that one store on like 33rd, that I remember being really great, and they had their own line of guitars. That was pretty cool. There's Rudy's store down in Soho, still there, right? The newer Rudy's where he moved. Obviously 48th Street's all gone. Whatever the store was down in NoHo, that was like where Greenwich Village Custom Guitars used to be. That was a cool shop. But those are the ones I remember. The one on 33rd, the one in NoHo that had the old Greenwich Village Custom Guitars, and Rudy's in Soho. Those were the best ones that I can remember, but that was 4 or 5 years ago. So let's see. Bry Geiler says, greetings from Barrie, Ontario. Ever play a GBX amp back in the day? I don't remember those. I remember a lot of Canadian brands like Garnet and Trainer, of course, and stuff, but I don't remember that one. Yeah, sorry. Um, let's see. Uh, uh, ooh, ooh, ooh. Looking for another guitar related question here, but I'm not seeing anything because we got so totally off the what's the white head to the side of you? That little amp over there is a it's kind of a 50-watt Marshall affair that a guy in Poland made, and he sent me one to try. I said, I've got a signature amp and stuff, and I don't really play a lot of other amps. And he was just so nice and very like kind of like, I'm just want you to try it. I'm just gonna send it to you. I said, okay. And it actually sounds quite good. It's kind of in the vein of like Friedman's small box or something. It's called a Laboga, and it's from Poland, and it does sound good. I haven't had a lot of time to spend with it, but it's a nice kind of high gain, um 50-watt Marshall affair. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 30th Street Guitars. That's it. That says Robert. 30th Street Guitars in New York. That's a nice shop, and it's still there, right? Rudy is on Broome Street. Yeah, and Rudy's is right next to. There's lots of cool stuff to do down there. Down in Soho, you can go clothes shopping and stuff, and it's kind of fun to hang down there. So that would be a good one to go to, I would say. Are you looking forward to the Fractal FS3? Where is it? I don't know anything. They tend to announce things, and then it's like they announce them real early, and then it's a while before they ship. So I would like to try one and compare it to the AX8 as like for these Queen gigs. I've been using the AX8, which has worked very well for that particular gig. Uh, but I'm not really a fan of the switching and the display and stuff. It's really hard for me to see when I'm loading a new bank. And it sounds like a silly thing, but when I'm hit that upper right switch and then I'm looking for a bank and there's this typewritten list of the presets that's like this high, I can't see that. And it's a little panicky because those guys move song to song to song to song. So if I hit a wrong button in that process and I get out of the bank that I'm supposed to be in, that bugs me. So maybe they've fixed all that with the new thing. So because of the Queen gig and the announcement of the FS3, yes, I would like to try it and actually see, because it for the Queen Ultimate celebration, if I'm subbing with them, it would be a nice thing to use, I would think. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Did you know if the Colorado clinic would be in Louisville or Longmont? I'm not sure about that. Sorry, I don't know. I think it's somewhere close to Denver, I think. But I'm not sure exactly what the dealer is yet. I'll find out that information tomorrow, and maybe I can let you guys know like next week. Any thoughts on transcribing with guitar or without guitar? I have to have a guitar in my hand in order to learn stuff. I just do. And Tom says, Pete, were you thinking of 30th Street Guitars? Yes, that's it, in New York, not 33rd. 30th Street Guitars. Yeah, I like that store. I've almost bought guitars there a couple times. The only thing I'm addicted to is rock and roll and cocaine, says Robbie Rose. Let's see. How to dial jazz sound out from a tube amp. Always struggling, especially when I play in a band. To me, a jazz sound is really a very almost sterile kind of clean, it'd be like if you turned up a twin reverb to 3 and put the bass and the treble on 5, and then you hit the neck pickup and rolled the tone down on the guitar and just control via the volume control, you'd probably be there. A lot of those guys played solid state amps. And to me, it's a, traditional, an archtop jazz kind of tone. But what do I know? Not very much. But it seems to me a lot of them played, pig nose amps and things like that sometimes. So it's like, what was your first amp as a Poo Ninja? Trainer. It was a Trainer solid state 10-watt little thing. That was pretty cool. It was loud. I could play with drums with it. I remember that. But it was a volume and I don't think it had any distortion. It was a volume and a treble and a bass, maybe a gain, a master, and a treble and a bass, something like that. And it was about yay big, little box, I liked it, actually. And then my next amp was an Ibanez amp, solid state, with a clean channel and a dirty channel. I think it was 50 watts with a 112. That makes me nostalgic just thinking about that stuff. About, your mom goes out and gets you this stuff. It's just like you're so stoked on Christmas. Ugh, makes me sad thinking about all that. So much time has passed. But anyways, I remember getting my first Marshall. It was a MOSFET 100 watt with the 410 cabinet. And somebody contacted me recently and actually said, "Hey, there's a guy selling a Marshall 410 cabinet in Edmonton. He says it used to belong to you in the ad." And I was like, "I had one. It must be, but somebody bought that stuff for me years ago. I don't even remember. You don't remember selling the stuff, It's like, now I think about it, I wish I had all that stuff just on a nostalgic level. But anyways, I liked the Ibanez. I remember that I had this Ibanez combo. Probably didn't sound very good, but to me, what my memory of it now is that it was a good amp. And have you ever played a Voldvox AC50? I've heard good things about those heads, says Wrecking Crew. I haven't, but I'm kind of fascinated with them too. I maybe played one once, I think at Linda Perry's. I think she had one. But yeah, kind of cool, like 2 EL34 thingamajig, kind of like the ugly stepsister or whatever of the AC30. I guess not a lot of people used them, but anyways. Have you ever played a Jet City JC800? If so, do you think it sounds like the SLO? Says Sean. I think the thing with the SLO was supposed to be those transformers and stuff, where everybody said the hot rods didn't quite sound like the real SLO. I don't know. I've never actually played the Jet Cities, so I don't know. I've played real SLOs, which sound really good to me for that tone, that one thing that they do, which is pretty cool. But I've never played the kind of like, the variations of. How about Chelsea Guitars? Never been there. That's Tom. I don't know about that one. You guys will know about stores I probably, if you've been in New York in the last 5 years, that I don't know about. Do you like EMG pickups? Have you ever tried the newer models like the 57s? I have not. I have a bass here with an EMG P-style pickup, and I love the sound of that bass. And I've often said I'd like a Strat that maybe has the EMG set, with all the controls and the mid boost and all that stuff. It would be nice to have one guitar with that, but I'm generally speaking a passive pickup guy. The FM3 will sound exactly like your X3, sorry, AXFX3. Yeah, I actually want to try and build in the Axe3 here some of the Queen sounds. I want to try and do the treble booster and the AC30 thing and stuff, see what this sounds like compared to the X8, because I haven't done that yet. And the X8 sounds quite good for those sounds, so I'm going to give it a shot, and then maybe I'll know. Let's see. Kurt says, Norman's Rare Guitars looks like a cool place in LA. Saw you in a video for their channel. It's certainly fun. Some other stores in LA I like. LA Vintage in Burbank is a Cliff store, and that's really cool. Like a smaller Norman's or something. True Tone in Santa Monica. And you know what? Let's give props to Guitar Center for doing a nice renovation on their store in Hollywood. I was pleasantly surprised. It's pretty damn nice now. Guitar Store takes a lot of shit all the time, but they did a nice job on renovating that store, and it's a pretty nice experience going in there and looking around and stuff now. Yeah. Mike Brookfield says Grant Green walked up to any club amp, rolled off the treble and bass, maxed out the mid, and played his gig according to his biography. Anyway, I can believe that. Like, yeah, that's what I mean. Jazz guys didn't seem too. They just wanted a kind of, if it does sort of loud, clean, and then you can control everything from the guitar. It was more about the notes they were playing than anything. Not so much about those guys were. I don't think real tone freaks beyond having a really nice archtop guitar that probably played great and had a good tone right from the guitar. They just kind of wanted a clean sound. And the funny thing about clean sounds is, of course, that they do sound different, of course, depending on what you're playing through, but distorted sounds really blow up. Like once you start distorting an amp, all of a sudden you start hearing all these different things, because the quality of the way the speakers roll off the top end, and whether or not the amp starts farting out in the low end, and all this stuff happens when you kind of blow up the amp. Clean sounds, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this, but it's a lot harder to sort of differentiate between different clean sounds. They can sound kind of like similar, but if you ran, say, an overdrive into a clean sound, so take any three clean sounds, right, and listen to them and kind of dial them in back to back. Now dial a distortion pedal in, or plug a distortion pedal in front of those same three clean sounds and turn it on, and listen to how different all those sounds sound all of a sudden. Like radical differences. So, that's the thing about clean tones, is that whether you had a lab series solid state amp or a twin reverb, a lot of people could probably get through the gig if they were playing an archtop and generally playing clean on either one of those. Dallas says, Pete, you're always talking pedals and amps. Do you do any work on your guitars? Ed always messed with his guitars too, so it's cool too. I was a guitar modder I built the guitar when I was 16, I had the body made, and I bought a kit neck, but then I put it all together and did all the, the first thing I did when I got my first guitar was take it all apart and probably screw it up. I did mods. I painted that guitar. I bought different pickups, and I was always messing with pickups. And so nowadays, it's the luxury of working with someone like Sir. They do the mods for you when you want something different. You say, hey, I'd like to try, this or that, and they do it. So I don't do as much different stuff as I used to, like where I'm like constantly switching out pickups and stuff. I just it's generally something where but it's stuff that I like to mess, like right now where I'm going to Sir tomorrow and I'm working on a guitar with them that's a classic S with it's going to be kind of candy red with a tortoiseshell pick guard, 2 V60 LP singles with cream covers, a covered Thornbucker in the bridge, I think. And then it's got the new bridge with the Wilkinson with the locking saddles, and it's got a neck that we've digitized from my old Jackson that I had in the 80s. So it's quite a flat radius, that kind of D Charvel neck, old Charvel neck, big frets, and all that stuff. It's a pretty different, it's a neck shape they've never done at Sir, exactly. So that's a pretty modded guitar that I'm messing around with. It's just that I tend to work more like that now, where, order up a guitar and then, do it like that. So I think John's going to help me finish the neck tomorrow, and then we can get the guitar made up and stuff. Should be pretty cool. And Christian Lease, something like that says, everybody gets sad thinking about Ibanez. That's funny. I like it. I still like Ibanez is one guitar I've never owned. I've never owned an Ibanez guitar. I had their amp, but I never had a gem or anything like that ever. Never. Yeah. John Sir says, most of us don't love playing through monitors without the rest of the music. You guys must be talking about running full range. Wrecking Crew says, yep, Pete, thanks for replacing boring TV crap and giving us something worthwhile to tune into on a hot Sunday afternoon. Hey, man, I hope it's been fun and interesting on some level. I've enjoyed being here with you guys, that's for sure. And PT recommendations for tape delay, excellent reverb, and favorite tremolo. I'm going to go with the tremolo. A Flint is a great thing for tremolo because it's also got a good reverb. So you can kill two birds with one stone right there. I like the Flint pedal a lot for trem and reverb. The harmonic tremolo in it's really nice. It's got 3 different styles of reverb. What more could you want? Tape delay. I just did that. You might want to watch the thing I just did with Dan from that pedal show. It's on my channel. Might be the last video I put out, actually, or second to last. I think it was the last video I put out, where we looked at 3 of the popular tape delays: the El Capitan, the MXR, Dunlop Echoplex, and the Bell Epcock. Epica. How do you say it? I don't know. From Catlin Bread. All 3 sounded great. You could pick from that. I've got the MXR on my board, my big board, and I've got the El Capitan on my little board down below my feet here at the desk. So both are terrific. Yeah. I always thought the El Capitan was actually kind of a Echoplex thing, but I guess it's not. Dan was sort of implying that it was more a space echo was what they kind of based it on, which I found interesting. And now I kind of get that, I guess, because it's got the reverb in it too. It does have a spring reverb in it, which sounds really good, actually. So that totally makes sense. I should have put 2 and 2 together there. But it's a great pedal because it's got the spring built in too. So yeah. Pete, would be great to play Elsinore Drive tomorrow at the Facebook Live. I'm not going to be ready to do that. I'd have to go back and relearn it. I haven't thought about that song since 2013. So, but I remember that one. It was funny, because I had a song that I did, a demo song for the PT100 when it originally came out, and we had a contest, name my song, and I think you won a Riot pedal or something if you were to win the contest. But got a whole bunch of names, and I just picked my favorite one, and somebody said Elsinore Drive, and I was like, that's the name, because I drove out here like 100 times to work on this amp with John, and it's an hour and 20 minutes each way. Elsinore Drive and Overdrive and all that stuff. It's hard to name instrumental songs, but that was the perfect name. Does anybody remember the Sovtech amps, says Chuck Booth? I remember them well. We all use Marshall and Peavey, so I never got a chance to try one. They were evidently built really bad, but could sound pretty good. The MiG 50, remember that one? It was basically like a 410 bassman kind of in a head. And simple amplifiers that evidently sounded pretty good if you tweak them and made sure that they were. I was talking with Friedman about it, and he said that they were just like a mess on the inside. Yeah. Dallas says, Pete, you're the best. Hey, thanks. He says he's logged 500 plus hours watching and rewatching videos. Always something new to learn. Thanks, man. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I do. Any thought on 65 watt versus 75 watt creambacks into 212? The 65 watts are cool. I find them a little MIDI for my tastes. They're a little more forward mids than even, say, a greenback. You know how greenbacks kind of full mids, and then H30 types are a little bit more like bass and treble, a little bit bigger sounding overall, and more hi-fi, for lack of a better term. To me, it's the exact same, but the 65s have even more mids than I'm used to, and it's a bit much to me, but some people might really like it. So for me, the 75 watt creamback is the one that I really like because it seems a little more balanced to me. And that's why we ended up using it in the PT horizontal, or I guess they're both horizontal cabs, but just one's more horizontal than the other one. The older PT cab with the 275s. Yeah. So Derek Brown says, is it just me, or does it look like Pete's subscriptions have jumped up? They're moving a little faster now. A lot of it is to do with, when I go to those things like the Guitar University in, the Toman event, and you collaborate with other folks, and you end up in their videos and they end up in yours, and people see you then that might not know about your channel or have been interested in it before, and then it tends to help your subscriber base grow. So that's one tip to any sort of aspiring YouTubers out there, anybody that does YouTube as a thing. Collaborate with other people, and it'll tend to help you sort of cross-pollinate your subscriber bases, and people will naturally sort of organically find your thing that way and maybe find it interesting, and you'll get more subscribers, and it's a nice thing. I'm going to split pretty soon, you guys. Going to get out of here, but let's see. Chasm is he's got a question about the Friedman Buxom Boost and the Ethos Clean 2. He says, I think he's saying he doesn't like the bass, like maybe it's too much. Could you tighten it up with the Buxom Boost's tight knob? Yeah, sure. It just lops off bass going into the front end. So it would probably be a good remedy, I would think. Yeah. What else, guys? Anybody else? Anything else? I'm going to split here in a sec. Ramon says, first rig was a Bradley Strat copy from Music Emporium, PV Classic VTX. I remember those, and a Boss HM2. Just imagine. I can hear it right now grinding away. I purchased secondhand, says Alan, and Ibanez Les Paul copy. It was a fantastic guitar. Cost £60. Sold it for £260 in 90. Wow. Saw one 7 years ago in London. Price was more than £5,000. Wow, that's amazing. Really? Was it a glue-in neck? That's incredible wow, that's wild. Would have had no idea they go up that much. I bet you could find them in Japan for less than that, but, there's a store in Shinjuku that has just so many Takais and Bernies and Gracos and all, and probably Ibanez and all that stuff. They're a great shop. It's right above Hyper Guitars. If anybody goes to Tokyo, check out the store. Hyper Guitars is this incredible vintage store that's just north of Shinjuku in the next, I can't remember the name of the district that it's in, but it's just north a couple stops from the Shinjuku train stop, and it's literally right outside the train station. So Hyper's downstairs, and then this amazing sort of four-story kind of all used store is there. They've also got some vintage stuff, but it's mainly the main floor is a lot of Japanese guitars and tons of pedals and stuff like that. And that's kind of the place to go to find an old Takai or whatever, I would think, if you're looking for such a thing. Pete, what's the 2 black single cuts in the back of your room? One is a Gil Yaron and one is my Les Paul Custom. Yeah, my old custom. Oh, yeah. All right, you guys. I think I'm going to split. Time to go. You guys have a great week. This was really fun. Thanks to everybody for being here. I don't know if Sir's still here or Robert Baker. Leo's probably gone. But all you folks that chimed in, I know Sean was here and he's out of here. Anyways, it was really fun. And you guys, I can't wait to see next week. Some of you may have gotten a chance to try my new amp, the PT15. And I really can't wait to hear what people think. That's my main thing. We've been talking about it for 6 months now. Now it's time for other people to just try it, and I hope people are digging it. So I'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. You guys are the best. Rock and roll.